Imagine walking into what's supposed to be a routine interview, smiling for the cameras, ready to talk about the work you've dedicated your life to, only to realize you've been set up. That's exactly what happened to one of Hollywood's biggest stars during a morning talk show that promised nothing but a friendly conversation about his latest film. Picture the studio lights glowing, the red on-air sign illuminated, and a familiar host greeting him with practiced warmth. Everything seemed perfectly normal, just another day on the promotional tour, until it wasn't. "Thanks for being here today," the host said, his tone warm, almost reassuring. But there was a subtle edge in his voice, one that would only become more obvious as the conversation progressed. The star, maintaining his trademark composure, responded politely. "Sure, what's on your mind?" And that's when the first bomb dropped. The host pivoted quickly, bringing up serious allegations tied to the actor's personal life, ones that had been circulating in media for years. The star's expression shifted slightly, a flicker of caution crossing his features, but he stayed professional. "I'm here to talk about my film." "That's what we agreed on," he replied. Calm, steady, but with a note of steel underneath. "Now, here's where things get tense." The host leaned in, his demeanor turning aggressive. "Come on, you're a public figure. Don't you owe your fans answers?" the host pressed. The actor's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "I've spent over 40 years putting my heart into my work. I don't owe anyone beyond that," he said. The studio air seemed to thicken with every word. You can almost feel the crew's discomfort, can't you? Even seasoned camera operators and producers, used to live television chaos, exchanged uneasy glances. The cameras captured every microexpression, every twitch, as the star maintained control over his reactions while the host pushed harder. "Your personal choices affect your image," the host continued. "Isn't your connection to certain groups relevant?" The star straightened, the practiced Hollywood charm giving way to something raw. "George, what exactly are you trying to accomplish here?" he asked, voice measured but warning clear. Was this agreement just a setup for an ambush? And with that, the first real confrontation erupted on live television, an uncomfortable tension rippling through every inch of the studio. Now, here's the question for you watching. What would you do if someone tried to corner you like this in front of millions? Would you stay calm and answer, or push back? Type your thoughts in the comments below. The host, seemingly oblivious to the growing tension, persisted. "These are questions the public deserves answers to," he said. But the actor wasn't playing along. His laugh, sharp and humorless, cut through the pretense. "There's nothing honest about this. You agreed to one thing, and are now doing something completely different," he said, standing up in a controlled, commanding motion that instantly shifted the power dynamic. The host attempted to maintain authority, insisting that he was asking legitimate questions. The star's response was clear, unwavering. "Legitimate? You're attacking my personal beliefs on live television. That's not journalism, that's tabloid sensationalism." Every word echoed through the now silent studio, and the crew froze. You could hear a pin drop. For a moment, it seemed like the host might regain control, but the star's presence filled the frame, commanding the space with an intensity few could match. "What bigger issues?" he asked. "The fact that I do my own stunts, that I've never had a scandal, that I dedicate my life to entertaining people?" His voice was steady, cutting through the narrative the host was trying to construct. And then it hit. The host brought up religion. The actor's calm demeanor cracked slightly, replaced by quiet but undeniable authority. "You're really going to attack my beliefs on live television in a country founded on religious freedom?" he asked. The words hung in the air, heavy and confrontational, yet perfectly measured. The audience could feel the weight of that question. Now, take a moment and ask yourself, would you sit there silently, or would you stand up for your integrity like this? Comment below. I want to hear your thoughts. The confrontation escalated as the host pressed, citing allegations and accusations, while the actor systematically dismantled the claims, pointing out the lack of concrete evidence. Every argument from the host was met with calm, logical counterpoints, exposing the manipulation behind the questions. "Show me the court cases. Show me the evidence," the actor demanded. "You can't, can you?" Because this is gossip dressed as journalism. And just like that, the balance of power had shifted. The host, once confident, now visibly struggled to maintain composure. Sweat formed on his forehead, his notes trembling in his hands, while the star's presence dominated the set. You could feel the tension in your own chest watching this unfold. By the end of the first segment, it was clear. This was no ordinary interview. It was a battle of integrity versus ambition, professionalism versus tabloid sensationalism. And the viewers? They were watching one of the most uncomfortable, yet riveting, exchanges in live television history. So, what would you do if you were in this situation? Would you stay seated and try to answer, or would you rise up and take control of the narrative? Let me know in the comments. And if you're fascinated by these real-life media confrontations, hit that subscribe button because we're just getting started. The tension in the studio didn't just linger. It thickened, becoming almost tangible. Every word exchanged between the actor and the host felt like a chess move, each side testing the other, trying to assert control. You could almost hear the collective heartbeat of everyone watching, live at home or behind the cameras, as the confrontation escalated. And the question on everyone's mind was the same: how far would this go before someone broke? The host, trying to regain authority, leaned closer, his voice sharp and insistent. These questions are fair. People have a right to know about your connections. You can't just avoid them. But the actor didn't flinch. His eyes, steady and piercing, locked onto the host. Fair, he repeated, his voice low but cutting through the tension like a blade. You're asking me to answer accusations based on rumor, gossip, and selective storytelling. That isn't fairness. That's manipulation. It's one of those moments that makes you stop and think, what is the real role of journalism? Is it to seek truth, or is it sometimes to create spectacle? And in this case, the lines had clearly been blurred. The host, once confident and in control, was now shifting in his seat, shuffling papers, trying to regain footing. The actor's calmness, however, was deliberate. He was guiding the conversation, forcing the host to confront the consequences of his own approach. Let me ask you something, the actor said, pacing slowly behind his chair. Did you actually reach out to any current members of my organization? Did you investigate these claims? Or did you just collect the stories that fit your narrative? The words hit like lightning. You could see the host's jaw tighten, his composure cracking. The audience watching at home could feel the tension growing. This wasn't just a dispute about personal beliefs. This was a showdown about integrity, about ethics, and about accountability. And the actor wasn't holding back. He had the floor, and he knew exactly how to use it. You came here under false pretenses. You agreed to talk about my film, and now you're attacking my character. Tell me, how is this professional? How is this responsible journalism? And then came a silence, so heavy you could almost hear it. The host's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. His confidence had vanished, replaced by a rare vulnerability on live television. This is the kind of moment that goes viral, not because of what's being promoted, but because of how reality unravels in front of millions. The actor didn't relent. He moved closer to the desk, his tone deliberate and unyielding. You talk about documentation, but show me the evidence. Concrete evidence. Not testimonies coached by lawyers, not books written for profit, not documentaries that never reached out to the other side. Show me what actually proves these claims. Each question landed like a hammer, forcing the host into a defensive stance. The host tried again, a last-ditch effort to reassert control. We've consulted multiple sources, he said, voice slightly shaky now. People who've experienced this firsthand. The actor paused, letting the words hang. Then slowly he shook his head. Sources who told you exactly what you wanted to hear, right? Confirmation bias dressed as journalism. That's what you're relying on. That's your foundation for attacking someone on national television. You could feel the tension radiating through the screen. The audience, whether at home or in the studio, was witnessing a masterclass in turning the tables. This wasn't just about an ambush interview. It was about how calm, prepared, and articulate someone can take control when their integrity is on the line. The actor's voice dropped, quiet but filled with authority, making every word hit harder. "Look around you," he said, gesturing subtly to the silent crew and frozen cameras. "Everyone here knows this isn't right. Everyone here feels it. You're not just asking tough questions. You're attacking, harassing, and manipulating. That's not journalism, George. That's something else entirely." At that moment, the host's notes trembled in his hands. He had tried to control the narrative from the start, but now the narrative had controlled him. The actor's methodical dismantling of his approach exposed every weakness, every misstep, every unethical choice. And the audience watching could feel it. The power had shifted. The actor then addressed the bigger picture, his pacing deliberate, every movement commanding attention. "You're using your platform to destroy reputations based on unverified stories. That's not accountability. That's exploitation. You're weaponizing trust, and it's disgusting. People deserve better than this. They deserve journalists who investigate, verify, and respect the truth, not ones who hunt for reactions and viral clips." You could almost hear the viewers at home nodding along, thinking, yes, that's exactly what's happening in media today. And that's when the actor made it personal, but with precision. When someone attacks your beliefs, your family, your reputation, do you just sit there? Or do you stand up? I'm standing up. Not because I want to fight, but because I have to. Because integrity matters. Because truth matters. The host, cornered, tried one final argument. "We're just asking questions that people want answers to." But the actor, now directly facing the camera, responded with a truth so simple and yet so powerful. Asking questions is not enough. You have to investigate. You have to verify. You have to be fair. Otherwise, it's not journalism. It's theater. And we've all seen too much theater dressed as news. The studio remained silent, the atmosphere electric. You could feel that everyone present knew this confrontation had already left its mark. Every exchange, every glance, every word had shifted the power dynamic irreversibly. The actor was no longer just defending himself. He had become the voice of accountability in the room, forcing the host and the audience to confront uncomfortable truths about the nature of modern media. And here's the part where it gets really interesting. The actor doesn't just argue, he sets boundaries. Slowly, deliberately, he begins removing his microphone, signaling that he won't participate in a discussion that is fundamentally dishonest. "I came here to talk about my work," he says. "Not to be ambushed. Not to have my beliefs attacked. Not to be manipulated for ratings. I'm done." The tension was palpable. The host, now visibly shaken, attempted to reclaim authority, but the actor's presence had shifted everything. Every camera, every crew member, every viewer could feel the finality of the decision. "Watch me," he said, his words deliberate, precise, commanding. And with that, he walked toward the edge of the set, ready to take the ultimate stand for integrity. Take a moment and think about this. How often have you seen someone in a position of power confronted, not with shouting or aggression, but with calm, precise reasoning? This isn't just a Hollywood story, it's a lesson in ethics, communication, and self-respect. Now, I want to hear from you. If you were in this situation, would you have walked away like the actor did, or tried to stay and navigate the storm? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you're still with me, hit that subscribe button, because in part 3, the confrontation escalates even further, and you won't believe how close this interview comes to spiraling completely out of control. The studio was silent except for the hum of the lights and the sharp sound of the actor unfastening his microphone. Every movement seemed amplified, every second stretching into an eternity. The host, sensing control slipping away completely, made a desperate move. "Please," he said, voice strained. "Let's start over. Let's talk about your movie like we planned." But the actor froze mid-step and turned slowly. The look on his face? A mix of disbelief and razor-sharp clarity. His voice was calm, but every word cut deep. "Start over," he repeated, letting the question linger in the air. "George, you just spent 20 minutes attacking my beliefs, my integrity, my character, on live television. And now you want to start over? That's not how this works. The audience at home could feel the weight of that line. It wasn't just a refusal. It was a verdict. The host's face flushed red, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. He tried again, this time with a defensive edge. "I was just doing my job." And then came the actor's response, a line that would echo far beyond the walls of that studio. "No, George. You weren't doing your job. You were pushing an agenda. You lied to get me here. You broke your agreement the moment the cameras started rolling. You call that journalism? I call it betrayal." Boom. That's the moment the power dynamic shattered. The host's attempt to play the "just my job" card backfired spectacularly. Viewers weren't just watching an interview anymore. They were watching the anatomy of a media takedown. The actor walked back toward the desk, not to sit down but to stand directly in front of the main camera, blocking the host from view. And then, slowly, deliberately, he leaned forward. "You know what the real tragedy is?" he asked, his voice low and almost sorrowful. "You used to be a real journalist. You used to care about truth. But somewhere along the way, that stopped mattering. Now, it's all about moments like this, viral clips, controversy, clicks. You've traded integrity for attention. And you think I'm the problem?" The studio crew was frozen. Not a sound, not a whisper. Even the host's own team looked like they wanted to melt into the floor. Because deep down, everyone in that room knew they weren't witnessing a meltdown. They were witnessing an awakening. And then came a line that hit like a sledgehammer. "This isn't journalism. This is a hit job." The host tried to recover, raising his voice, almost pleading. "You're being paranoid. Nobody's out to get you." The actor's laugh was sharp, humorless. "Paranoid? Let me ask you something. How many guests have you ambushed like this? How many people have you lured here under false pretenses just to attack them for ratings? Is this your new business model?" Silence. The host didn't answer. Couldn't answer. And that silence said everything. Here's what I love about this moment, and I want you to think about this too. The actor wasn't yelling. He wasn't throwing insults. He was calm, controlled, deadly precise. That's what made it so powerful. Because when you strip away the theatrics, what you're left with is truth, and truth doesn't need to shout. And then the actor delivered a masterclass in how to flip the script. You say you're asking tough questions. No. This isn't tough questioning. This is character assassination. And the fact that you can't tell the difference. That's what's wrong with journalism today. Did you feel that? That's not just a critique. That's an indictment. And millions of viewers felt it too. The host, desperate now, fired back weakly. People deserve to know. And that's when the actor cut him off with the most devastating question of the entire exchange. Deserve to know what? Rumors? Half-truths? Stories you didn't bother to verify? Or do they deserve the truth? Because if it's truth you're after, then do your job. Investigate. Verify. Present facts. Don't ambush guests under false pretenses and call it journalism. For a split second, the camera caught it. The host's face drained of color, his breathing shallow. That's the moment he knew he'd lost, not just the argument, but his credibility. And just when you thought it couldn't get any more intense, the actor leaned in, speaking directly to the viewers at home. "This isn't just about me. This is about you. Every person watching right now deserves better than this. Better journalism. Better honesty. Better truth. Because when this becomes the standard, when gossip becomes news, every single one of us loses." Did you feel that shift? It wasn't just a fight anymore. It had become something bigger, a public reckoning with the state of modern media. Now, I want you to imagine what was happening behind the cameras. Producers panicking, wondering if they should cut to commercial. Executives scrambling for damage control. And millions of viewers, jaws on the floor, thinking the same thing. This is not what we signed up for. And the actor? He didn't raise his voice. Didn't slam the table. He just let the truth do the talking. And that's why this moment became unforgettable. Then came the sentence that sealed it all. "You can't expect to control every interview you do," the host muttered weakly. And the actor, calm, unshaken, delivered the knockout blow. "I'm not trying to control anything, George. I'm trying to have an honest conversation about the work I love. But you're not interested in that, are you? You're interested in clicks, in trending hashtags, in turning lives into headlines. That's not news. That's theater. And you're the actor here, not me.
Wow.
Tell me that isn't one of the coldest, most powerful lines you've ever heard in an interview. If that doesn't make you rethink what journalism has become, I don't know what will. The camera cut to a close-up of the host. His lips trembled. His hand shook. And in that moment, the entire illusion of control shattered. The actor straightened, looked right into the lens, and said, "People deserve better than this. And if you won't give it to them, someone else will." Then he turned, mic still in his hand, and started walking. What happens next? You won't believe it. The ending of this confrontation isn't just dramatic, it's history-making. Stick around, because in part 4, you'll see how this live interview ended with one of the boldest moves ever made on national television. Before we get there, though, I want to hear from you. Do you think the actor was right? Was walking away the only option? Or should he have stayed and finished what he started? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're loving this breakdown, hit that like button and subscribe, because the finale is coming and you don't want to miss it. The air in the studio was electric, like the seconds before a storm breaks. Every eye followed the actor as he walked toward the exit, microphone still in hand, cords trailing behind him like battle scars. You could feel the weight of what was happening, not just an interview gone wrong, but a cultural moment unfolding in real time. The host called after him, desperation cracking his voice. "Come on, don't do this.
Don't walk out.
Let's finish." But the actor didn't even break stride. He paused at the edge of the stage, turned slightly, and said just loud enough for the microphones to catch, "Finish? George, you finished this the moment you betrayed the agreement. The moment you turned this into a hit piece." The cameras caught it all. That line wasn't just a rebuttal. It was a verdict. A final nail in the coffin of whatever credibility the host thought he had left. Producers scrambled behind the scenes, whispering frantically, waving their arms, signaling for a commercial break. But the control room didn't dare cut away. Not now, not in the middle of the most explosive moment of live television in years. The actor reached the door, and then, as if something inside him told him this needed a final note, he turned back to face the camera one last time. His expression was calm, collected, almost serene. And what he said next would echo far beyond that studio. "Listen," he began, his voice steady, his tone stripped of anger, carrying only conviction. "This isn't about me. This is about every person who turns on the news expecting the truth and instead gets ambushes and agendas. You deserve better than this. You deserve honesty. You deserve respect. And as long as I have a voice, I'll use it to call this out. Because if we let this become normal, if we accept the circus as journalism, then truth doesn't stand a chance."
Did you feel that?
That wasn't just a mic drop, that was a manifesto. And then, slowly, deliberately, he unclipped the mic, dropped it gently on the desk, not slammed, not thrown, but placed, like someone putting an end to a war they didn't start. No theatrics, no outburst. Just pure, unshakable resolve. The camera tried to follow him as he pushed open the heavy studio door, but the view faded to black as the control room finally, mercifully, cut to commercial. For a few seconds, there was silence. No words. Just the sound of millions of viewers at home sitting in stunned disbelief, trying to process what they had just witnessed. And here's the wild part. That silence didn't stay silent for long. Social media erupted. Within minutes, hashtags trended worldwide. Hashtag ambush fail, hashtag stand for truth, and the actor's name lit up every platform. People weren't just talking about a celebrity defending himself. They were talking about the state of journalism, about ethics, about where the line between reporting and manipulation had been crossed. Clips of the confrontation spread like wildfire. Reactions flooded in. Some praised the actor as a hero for standing up to what they saw as a corrupt media machine. Others argued he should have stayed and answered. But here's the thing, everyone was talking. Everyone. And as for the host? Well, his name trended too, but for all the wrong reasons. Memes popped up within hours. Headlines read, "Interview turns into live takedown and host gets schooled on his own show." It was brutal. But what about the actor? The irony? His movie, remember, the one he originally came to promote, skyrocketed to #1 at the box office the very next weekend.
Why?
Because people didn't just see a star, they saw a fighter. Someone who wouldn't let their integrity be sacrificed for ratings. And in today's world, that's rare. And that brings us to the big question, the one I want you to really think about. Who was right? Was the actor justified in walking out? Or should he have stayed and fought to the very end? Here's my take. Walking out wasn't weakness. It was strength. Sometimes the most powerful move you can make is to refuse to play a rigged game. And in that moment, the actor sent a message louder than any argument could. Truth matters more than airtime. Now imagine this for a second. What if he had stayed? What if he had tried to keep negotiating, keep answering, keep playing along? Would the host have changed his approach?
No.
The narrative was already set. The trap was already laid. By walking out, the actor didn't just escape the trap, he exposed it. And that's why this interview will be remembered for years. Not because of the questions asked, but because of the answers that were never given. So let me ask you this. If you were in his shoes on that stage under those lights, ambushed on live TV, what would you have done? Would you fight it out? Or would you walk away like he did? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this is one of those moments where every opinion matters. And before you go, if you've been hooked on this breakdown as much as I've been, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video. Because the truth is, stories like this don't just entertain, they make us think. About media, about trust, about the world we live in. And if there's one thing this actor proved that day, it's this. When you know your worth, you don't let anyone rewrite your story. Thanks for watching.